everyone, and welcome to the LTH product briefing. I'm pleased today to be joined by Cognia Law, and specifically by Peter Hall, the Group COO of Peter. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, good to be.
Peter, Cognia obviously is an ALSP. It provides numerous services across quite a wide range of offerings to corporate legal departments and beyond. But today, specifically, we're here to talk about Cognia's contract management as a service. Can you provide us with a little bit of background and a bit of an introduction to that particular offering?
Yeah, we've been working on this for quite a few years in various different iterations, and it's really started off by what are the problems that our clients are talking about, and what is the market talking about. And as you're aware, and I'm sure you've seen on your platform, there are many different iterations of how to solve this problem. So we've gone through a couple of iterations to get it where it is, and really what we're offering is something that's quite different in the market. It has three key elements, but overall it's looking to take away the burden of contract management from the in-house legal team. So it's how do we work with in-house legal teams to make this really simple for them, provide them time to focus on the complex issues within their area and their business, and provide the business support around risk, around contracting, etc. So the three key areas that it covers is really upfront is assisting the in-house legal teams around standardizing processes and playbooks, and this is a key area that we often see with clients. They want to jump straight into the technology and a solution of contracting end to end, but if we haven't got that area right, they unwind very quickly, and you're wasting resources and not getting things right. So that's done predominantly by advisory team who will work with the commercial team and sit down, standardize playbooks, bring in world-class methodologies. And what does that do? It aligns best practice. It makes sure we're minimizing waste, downtime, negotiation time. We can really shorten and clear, and most importantly is reducing risk, because that's obviously very important. The central part of this contract management is a solution which is a tech-enabled end-to-end contracting platform. The platform is managed by our contract resources who will take a contract opportunity from intake, which the client, yourself, the in-house legal team will put the information in, and we will take that following the platform around making sure that we've got the contract set up, negotiating that, obviously getting input from the external parties, taking it through to the final documentation, execution, pulling out key details of the contract, and then storing the final documentation contract. That final contract information can obviously be pushed back into the client system should that be required, but we then have an end-to-end solution. And then the last part of this solution is really the area that, again, a lot of clients don't spend a lot of time thinking about, but we think is really valuable, is what data is stored in those contracts. So it's understanding, where the risk sits, where the opportunities sit, what data points do you need for renewals and various things like that. What are key data points, and providing clients with the dashboard to be able to understand that information, but also AI to enable us to interrogate those as and when you need that, and the information around that. And I'm still absolutely blown away at the amount of clients, when you speak to them, you say, where are the contracts? And they say, well, some are there, but I don't really know and I can't pull them together. So that's the overall solution, is how do we help in-house legal teams really become proficient and world-class in the contracting process?
So it really is end-to-end support of the entire contracting life cycle. And Peter, you leverage, in the pursuit of offering the service, proprietary technology, I believe, which you're here to show us today. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've developed a platform for this. We call it Cognia Exceed, and it's based on tools that everybody knows and trusts, especially the in-house legal teams, technology departments. It's Microsoft. So it's based on Microsoft Power Platforms using Dataverse, Power Apps, and for the lawyers, we use Word for all negotiations and markups and things like that, because that's what we know. So we've built that around that. We also using the Azure OpenAI links to be able to interrogate the data. Clearly, that's on a secure environment because it's not shared. It's within your instance or our instance, specifically firewalled and locked down for you. So it's not shared open, but it provides all those tools that you're wanting. So the platform itself is very much around looking at what are key elements of a contract process and how do we make sure we include those in an effective way without making it over overcomplicated. And this allows us to very quickly, within a week or two, set up new instances. It allows you to get up and running as a client with very little budget. It's a pay-per-use model based on contract volumes and a minimum monthly commitment. So there's no big upfront budget requirements and approvals required. So very quickly you can get a solution that's up and running and solving your problems, which is really important. We've heard that a lot from clients.
Well, let's jump in and take a look at it.
So this is the home screen. As you can see, very simple, and what it's got is the core information. So I'm looking at it as a view as a team leader, and bearing in mind that the client won't be looking inside the system. This is the information that our teams that are dedicated to you using to support you in the contracts. We've got the allocations of contracts that are allocated to myself, and I can go in. It shows the current stage, action, internal review, external review, legal review, where it's sitting, and those are the different contracts. On this side, I've got a calendar showing dates of points that I need to address. So I can click on it. I can see what is the key point there that's been recorded, and I can go to that specific record if I need to. So this could highlight specific issues or specific execution points that are needed within contracts. And as we run through the contracts process, we'll pull out these key data points. That's at the high level. What we would do is, as per normal, you've got an intake process. It follows a simple, you do the high level information request, which parties are involved, and then generate a document. And I'm not going to run all the way through, but it's what you'd expect in an intake. So request type, I'm looking for CLM. When's the deadline to have it done? By Friday. What sort of urgency has it got? Low, medium, or high? Which department internally am I working with? What's the contract value?
And Peter, presumably these fields are all conf as well. So if you have specific request types to your business, you could add those in.
Absolutely. Yep. And this is fairly much our vanilla standard setup that I'm working through at the moment. We can pick up the type of contract. This would link to the playbooks, and clearly this is to any jurisdiction you want to do. Just pick United Kingdom, governing law, United Kingdom, and I can put any specific information around that. So I've got all that. I just need that. So I want to draft a document. I could also, a key thing here is this is for drafting a new document. I could be reviewing a document. So this could also take in third-party paper. So let me select draft here and go through. Sorry, I need master service agreement now, and I can go to next. What I then do is it takes me through based on the playbook that I've linked to that contract type. I have different clauses that I need to have a look at. There's a default clause, which is based on my templates and playbooks that I've worked through. I can also pick a fallback position. You'll notice if I pick a fallback position, it changes the risk rating. And that's quite key, is we're managing through this process, what is the risk related to these contracts? And clearly, if you pick more, if I go to custom, it'll pick a very high risk because you obviously need to review that, and that'll affect the review process and how we do that and take that forward.
I really like the way you've built in the risk indicator while you're effectively assembling the contract.
Absolutely. It's really important because I think as we're running through this, a lot of people don't realize the implications, and they go, well, I'm quite happy to do a customizable view over here, but it has implications. It's going to take longer. It might take more detailed negotiation, etc. I think it's the next one. I choose parties. Again, these are parties that are in my system. I can also add new parties if I want to, if on the fly. I can find a counterparty. Let's take Belita and a name, and then I go through and create the document. So I can attach a file if there's a specific file related to this contract, give it a name and upload it, and I can submit. So that's a very simple intake process. What we also have is for in the business area. So I'm going to go through that success. So I'm just going back to home. So there's an intake form so the business can actually provide that information to us. They will see all the fields that we've seen and choose that, because more and more businesses are wanting to push this sort of information or that stage of a contract into the business so they can actually self-serve. So we allow for that. I can go spend hours on this because I'm very excited by it, but let me drop into the contract repository side and just looking at some of the stuff. I'm just going to let's just take this non-disclosure that's been done. I can go into that document. In that last field, I can sort by document type, who the reviewer is, what's going on. But really just to highlight, so this is the information about the contract that we captured, any specific instructions. I can also have a look at the actual document itself. I can drop into the different parties to see who the parties are. And then this is quite key for us. And again, it leads to the dashboard that we'll see just now as contract stages. So I can see which person's been involved in which stages of the contract and where we are in that contract process. So you've got a full audit, background audit to the people that are involved in this contract. I can see who did what, when, and how that works. So that's all done. I can pull through risks. I can go and have a look at the risks. So let me just pull that through. I can add risks that, sorry. There we go. I can add specific risks that I want to highlight in the contract, or I can actually sorry, I keep doing that. Or I can actually pull out the contract and actually just determine the risks automatically from that contract. It can show them to me. And then the life cycle of where we are in that contract side of things. So you'll notice here, I've got different actions. The different screens or different pages will have different actions, but those can move from assigning or adding people into that stage. I can pass it off to an external and internal party for review. And when I pass it off, I'm actually passing the document. It arrives in your Outlook or your email with the document in Word attached. You can either review it and just plain accept, which will push it straight back into the system, or alternatively, you can make changes, save it, and reply, and that will send an update into the system, which clearly is locked while the documents are out. And then on certain stages, once I've got to that point, it'll show me where I can execute through DocuSign or whatever your standard terms are.
And Peter, you could pick one of the actors or one of the team members and see which contracts are on their plate as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is full contract list. I could go and say, okay, which is for Peter Hall, and I just want to see the NDAs. There's the list, and this is what we're working on. So
then you can see the status. And it's a contract lifecycle management system, but it also provides you with an overview of the work and the capacity in your team.
Absolutely. Yeah, very much so. So it's very much that. We've also put in something which we find quite useful. It came from a client and we've been twisting and changing it to get it right. It's what we call legal assistance. It's not advice note, because as a law company, we can't provide advice, but it's where the client might want assistance in certain areas. So they might say, I'm looking for information, a legal review. I'm looking for information about it could be quite broad. And what that does, it comes through to our team and we can actually provide some different thoughts on how they can address those issues, which is quite useful. And it's a simple way for the business to interact with our teams on a regular basis as required. We obviously have details about the different counterparties that we work with. I'm not going to go into details. That's fairly normal. Same with the repository. And then there's the settings here where we can standardize emails that get sent by the system. We can have standard formats for the email templates for all the different portions that we send out. We can provide information on risk reporting, the users. Each user has a different level that we include in the team, what their level is, and obviously that's linked to permissions. It's quite broad around the setup, but quite simple, which as you can understand is really key. So I think overall it's end-to-end, it's simple, it allows the business to be able to hand this over. The key thing here is, how does the business know what's going on? And this is where I'd like to just give you a high-level overview. What we do is we use Power BI. Obviously, again, Microsoft Link, people know how it works and what it does. We set up a standard dashboard that we work with people, and we'll take from this and customize as and when required. But it can go into any level of detail. So here we've got an overview, what's the value of total contracts, and this is just a standard one based on static data. What's the contract value by count, current phases of different contracts. So you can see I've got a whole lot sitting at allocation, legal review, language approved, and activated. I can then drop down to have a look what the team is working on, allocations by reviewer levels or persons, where we are setting different contracts. I can then click into any one of the reviewers and see more of the information and a full list of what's going on. Again, I can do a similar view for the contracts, say what phases are they in, where are they in different timelines. I can see the different phases that they're through, and I could draw that down into any level of detail. Counterparty details, all of that. Negotiation metrics are quite interesting. How many is the average negotiation duration, the time spent on each phase, and that's often one we found very useful, because often the in-house legal team are blamed for everything going wrong, but it's sitting in the business where you're saying, we need some advice. Do we do this or do we do that? And that's really useful. And then risk management, we've talked a lot about that, and we think this is really key. So I've just pulled out 2 obligations that are sitting in our 83 contracts, and clearly this we can sort to say, okay, what is the risk? who's the owner of that risk? Give me some information around it. So very quickly I can understand where I sit. And again, I could draw that down to a client, entity, or counterparty. Renewals, fairly obvious. So I think that just gives a very whistle-stop tour of what this is all about. Any questions around that?
No, this is fantastic, Peter. It really strikes me. It's so intuitive, and what a relief, I imagine, for a GC to be able to get that kind of view over all of the contracts, and also to prove value to leadership, to really show these are the contracts where our team is involved. This is what's happening. Also for compliance risk. It's a really lovely solution. And it's called Exceed, I saw on the platform as well. It has a name.
We call it Cognia Exceed. It's our solution. And I think, it's very much, it's not something we sell as a separate standalone. It's part of the solution. It's something that we love doing, is working with clients and finding different solutions. And as I said earlier, it's built, I call it like Lego. My legal tech team will hate me for that, but it's something that we can quickly add little pieces and features as we require. And I think that's really the benefit of working with somebody like Cognia. We've got the core system here, and we make it work for our clients, and that's really important. So not yet, watch the space about how it works. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, Peter. Thank you so much for spending time with us. For everyone watching, we will put a URL across the bottom of the screen so that you can reach out and contact the Cognia team to find out more. Thank you so much for being with us, Peter, and thank you everyone for watching.